Word from the Lord. Matthew chapter 6. And we're going to look at John chapter 8. Deacon Owen don't start no stuff this morning. My deacons want to make me preach this morning.
Well, I want to preach. Thank you, Lord.
I think I will. Matthew chapter 6 and John chapter 8. In chapter 6 of Matthew, we just want to look at verse number 12. And if any of you ever want to get a DVD in our worship service, we have them. See Sister Mars, we have them for $7, just something, and we can help keep pushing ministry and making more CDs. And if you want to get 3 of them, do 3 for 20 DVDs. We don't have the CDs, but you got to come get it for first hand. But you want to play it back again, we have them, amen. Let's look at verse 12 of chapter number 6. And I got to thank Brother Severon for the DVDs, and sometimes you see videos and stuff on the Facebook and different places. They courtesy of Brother Severon. So if you ever need some pictures taken, he's a good photographer, amen. Chapter 6, verse 12. I want to read that one verse. Let's read this one together, amen. And forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Turn over to John chapter 8, verse 1 through 11. I'll read this one here. And Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribe and the Pharisee brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempted him that they might have accused him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. And when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. You may be seated. This parable, this text goes all the way down to verse 11. I challenge you to read that in the continuation in your free time or your personal devotion. But this morning we like to talk from the subject, having the courage to forgive in an unforgivable society.
All right. My Lord. Help us, Lord.
Deacon Jenkins, I won't get me an amens today.
Jesus.
But we want to talk from the subject, having the courage to forgive in an unforgivable society. If you have been watching your television at all over the past few weeks, you have noticed one of my favorite football players just signed a contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. Michael Vick has now signed a contract for $1.6 million. Probably more than most of us ever make in a lifetime. But yet this is the same NFL player that was once known as the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. How high was it, Brother Jenkins? Well, he signed a contract in 2004 with the Atlanta Falcons to make $130 million. Somebody said that's a lot of money. He signed a contract because of his talent, because of his skills, and because Atlanta needed a quarterback like Vick. But Michael Vick found himself falling to the temptation of the world, the pressure of his friends, and the society that he lived in, and he found himself, like many of you, doing things that your status say you shouldn't be doing. I wish I had a witness here. Many of you have allowed the pressure of those around you to do things that your status is really above. And because of the life that Michael Vick was no longer attached to, but many times they just like us, we find ourselves going back to things that God has really taken us out of, and when we try to go back to those very things, those are the things that find ourselves in jeopardizing situation. And because of Michael Vick's choices that he made, and I hate the choices that he made, he found himself in prison for 2 long years. They're still good despite the consequences, but Michael Vick found himself in prison for 2 years. And because of this, society having trouble forgiving him for a debt that he has already paid the price. Well, I'm going somewhere, I'm not preaching about Michael Vick, but I want to paint a picture here. Michael Vick has paid the price for what he done, and because the penalty has been already paid, society might as well let it go and forgive him for what he done. Now, Michael Vick not going to give me any promotions behind this, so I may never meet Michael Vick, but I think I can use him as a great illustration because of the status that he once had. Society is having trouble forgiving him for what he done. He merely was fighting dogs, and he even was attached to dogs that killed them dogs, and even in some dog fight. But that's not the troubling news. Sister Banks, what really troubles me, that one of his counterparts by the name of Dante Stallworth, a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, he killed somebody while driving under the influence. I wish I had a witness here. He killed a living soul under the influence of alcohol, and the society that we live in only gave him 30 days in jail. Now, Stallworth didn't have a contract for $130 million, but he was making more than you and I. But society would not forgive the one that was attached to dog fighting, but they can forgive the one that made him a public speaker against alcoholics and those that drive on influence, and only gave him 30 days in jail. Well, that's not strange. That's not new to us today, because even in the Bible, we had a society that refused to forgive those that God had forgiven. Many of you are here today, and God has already forgiven you, but those around you, they can't look at you. They won't shake your hand. Matter of fact, they talk about you behind your back. But I wish I had about 5 folks here today that got the courage to forgive in an unforgivable society. I wish I had somebody here that know God has forgiven you, and if you don't forgive me, I'm still gonna praise God. If you don't shake my hand, I have already been forgiven. In other words, just like Michael Vick, the penalty, the price has already been paid. Mike Matthew, the son of Phileas Levi, which you may know him as, a tax collector. He records for us in chapter 6 the model prayer. And in this prayer, many of you learned this prayer as a child. But many of us omit what's really been said in verse number 12. Sister Gina, what we really telling God is, we got to forgive. I want you to forgive us, God, as we forgive others. In other words, we said, God, if I don't forgive others, I don't want you to forgive me. But I want you to know there's some things that I have done in my life I'm so ashamed of. There's some places I've been I know I should have been, and I need God to forgive me. In order for me to get that forgiveness, I must forgive my sisters and my brothers. I must forgive husbands. I must forgive wives, despite the offense.